marks Peter Blake's second attempt at the Jules Verne Trophy, following a disappointing loss in February of 1993 to Bruno Peyron's Commodore Explorer. Blake collided with debris and cracked his hull in the Southern Ocean, forcing ENZA from the competition. Not to be discouraged, Blake is back with a new ENZA lengthened 10 feet. This time around, ENZA is joined by Robin Knox Johnston, the first man to sail solo around the world. It took 312 days.
Do you know, if you stop and think about it, we're doing in 5 hours with this boat what it was taking me a day to do then. It took me 312 days then.
We've done a lot of work on it. We've sailed a lot of miles in it in all sorts of conditions, but it's still in the lap of the gods regarding the weather. It's all weather dependent and on how smart we are going through the weather patterns the right way. I think if we did it in less than 79 days and 6 hours, we'd be highly delighted. If we do it in considerably less, we'll be ecstatic.
ENZA's crew takes advantage of an ideal weather window and heads out around the globe in the hopes of beating Jules Verne's mythical 80-day voyage, and in the process, set a new world record. The course takes them from the starting point at Ushant, France, crossing the trade winds, south through the doldrums, and passing the equator. After which ENZA will head east through the Southern Ocean, passing close to Australia and New Zealand, en route to infamous Cape Horn. Once past the Cape, they'll head north through the Atlantic, the doldrums, and back onto their original starting point. In this race, ENZA is competing with Frenchman Olivier de Kersesson and his new Lyonnaise de Mai, a trimaran with a smaller crew and greater stability. But ENZA seems undaunted by the challenge, clocking breakneck speeds en route to the equator.
This means that we've now averaged 19.05 knots. 19.05 knots for 6 solid days. It's just unbelievable. We are under 500 miles from the equator in 6 days from Ushant to the English Channel. It's just incredible sailing. It's unbelievable. It's fabulous being a part of it.
Had some very fast sailing over the last few days, but at the moment we're beating dead to windward as we make our way through a high pressure area, and we expect to be going quite slowly until probably Sunday night, the next 48 hours before we hit the westerlies. We've hit a bit of a brick wall, but at least it's a bit cooler for a change. We have the usual maintenance going on.
The respite and repair time offered by the doldrums doesn't last, and before long, ENZA's up and running. Weather router Bob Rice, back on shore, locates some wind between 2 pressure systems, and ENZA follows his lead, darting through the Southern Ocean due east. On board, there's little shelter from the wet and wind.
A lot of water on what happens from time to time. My boots are absolutely full, just full up.
The off-watch moments spent inside the cabin allows the crew time to recharge themselves for the next onslaught. Even the freeze-dried food takes on a special significance for these men. High pressure over New Zealand forces ENZA deep into the Southern Ocean, deeper than any multi-hull craft has ever journeyed before. The crew is forced to keep around-the-clock watches for the icebergs and bergy bits, constant reminders of the damage that previously forced them from the race.
In any sort of seaway, they'd be a lot more difficult to spot, but it's flat here. So whilst every now and again you can fuse one little bit of ice for a cresting wave, it's pretty easy to spot. But I think if there's any sort of swell, they'd be a bit more difficult.
We're at 61.5 degrees south, about 900 miles to the southwest of Cape Horn, and we have the wind coming from Cape Horn. It's a northeasterly, and it's about 35 to 40, I reckon, gusting 45 plus seas are getting very, very steep, 5-6 metres. Barometer is dropping like a stone. It's gone down 6 millibars in the last 2 hours.
Having successfully avoided danger near the Antarctic ice pack, ENZA blazes onward to Cape Horn, where they find themselves 1,300 miles ahead of Lyonnaise, whose sail they haven't laid eyes on in weeks. Before long, they're back into the warm waters of the Atlantic for some much-needed bathing and repairs afforded by the lull and calm seas.
That's the first fresh water, apart from rain, I've had on my face for 40 days.
As they head for home, the question no longer remains as to whether ENZA is fast enough. Now it comes down to a matter of wind. And wind is what they get, plenty of it. The same winds that have shut down French airports and the English Channel ferries usher ENZA back towards the finish line. With the boat surfing out of control, Blake is afraid they may pitch pull the boat, flipping it stern over bow. To slow down, Blake and crew drag warps made out of all the lines and anchors aboard. Survival becomes their priority. With the French Air Force acting as escort, ENZA nears the mark. The world record officials look on, recording the official time of their arrival. ENZA's competition is nowhere in sight. Lyonnaise could not keep up with Blake's mind-boggling speed. Having averaged 353 miles per day at 14.7 knots, ENZA managed to round the globe, a distance of 26,445 miles, in an astonishing 74 days, 22 hours. But there's the big question. Is a faster rounding possible? Robin Knox-Johnston.
We had good luck all the way for the first half. That was a lot of good luck. Terribly quick. Then we had bad luck, but we were still able to go quite well. I think any other boat's got to expect that same mix. And I think you probably need a bigger boat to beat it.
Who's ever finished a yacht race towing hundreds of metres of warp, all your anchor chain, all your anchor warp tied up? No sail. Unbelievable.
74 days and a bit, you happy with that?
I think you can do it in 67. But it won't be me.